Yeah, so that the village sends a copy of the request to the owner, that's what it says, and then if they say yes, you can have the public hearing, then it'll be on
But
there.
until they have to affirmatively say yes before anything happens.
Yeah, but that part I don't think has to be, I don't think that part would have to be in the law.
No.
Right.
But that would just, I think, be processed. I think we hadn't talked that out really, so.
And I don't think this is a key piece either way. Like, I don't think it opens up, for a lot of harassment or public outcry or a change.org petition. And I also don't think that it really gets anything by posting it. So, to me, I'm almost, I'll yield to people who have stronger opinions on this one.
It could be coercive.
It could be.
Coercive.
I think so.
I'm just curious, are there other public correspondence to the board that as a matter of course is not posted as public comment?
I mean,
Yes, the cookies before.
I think if there's a,
I'm sort of asking, is this becoming an exception to what our,
well, no,
what our
hold on a second.
policy is?
Let me check one
Let
thing
me
first.
just make a comment. This doesn't have to be declared a public correspondence, it's like a request, like people come forward to the village to talk about whether or not the village might consider a zoning change even before they submit formal paperwork. So there's things that happen, I don't want to say back channel, but happen not on the public record, but happen publicly. They're not concealed, but they're just not on the record because they haven't moved to that point where there's a real
But
action.
the question is, if they put that request in writing.
Like, I'm thinking like a stop sign request. I think we typically include that in correspondence, right?
I don't
Yeah.
know, I don't do it. I think
Sure.
we do.
Yeah, I'm looking at the policy that we have on the website, and it talks about timing, but the only out on here is that if you, this is to the person sending it, if they don't want their email to be officially acknowledged at a public meeting, please indicate that in your correspondence. But from a practical standpoint, if we received correspondence that was highly inflammatory, maybe something directed at a particular employee, I mean, I don't think there's no law that says it has to go on an agenda. This is just correspondence. This is not, doesn't mean you won't receive it, but does it get publicly attached to an agenda? No, I think there's a certain amount of judgment involved there. So I don't know that necessarily has to be spelled out as a policy. You know what I mean? Certainly, in fact, I don't think it's included here. As a matter of course, I don't ever include anonymous correspondence. So.
But this would,
No, this would be
to
not.
follow
No, I
up
know.
on Larry's question, it doesn't really fall into those categories.
Right, it's
Yeah.
sort of-
No, I know.
It would be a new exception.
Well, having been at this meeting, I'm absolutely sure that the committee absolutely understands that this is an opt-in, not an opt-out. That was never, they understood the meeting, totally. I think you would have said that from the second
Yeah,
half.
it's clear they did.
And that, I don't think this is particularly important, because as John Malone said here, and said probably about the same thing at this meeting, was that anybody who sees what the law is realizes that they want to talk to the owner. If it's the Historical Society and there's...
You mean in person who
Yes,
wants
right,
to nominate?
Right, why would you, knowing how the law is written, why would you just, out of the blue, nominate somebody? It would be like kind of a wasted effort on your part.
So I'm curious why they would want to include that sentence,
So
if it's a
mean-
matter of course, any.
to put it on the website?
Yeah.
Just because it's like public communication.
But if they hadn't to put that on, it would have probably just gone on the website anyway as part of public communication. Now we're
It was,
discussing.
I mean, I can't put you there in the meeting, but I can tell you that the sense of it was not that this was some incredibly important thing, but just that it would be helpful to, in terms of transparency, I don't know if that word was used, but just you get a communication, you make it, and, if people feel terribly strongly about it, I don't think they feel terribly strongly about it. I had a little header that I thought could go on it, I thought about today, like anywhere, it wouldn't be like on the front page of the website, it would be somewhere under historic district, and no one would ever find it anyway.
It doesn't matter
A
where it's
nomination.
located.
What?
It doesn't matter where it's located, it's public.
Oh, yeah, a nomination for local landmark status has been submitted to the Board of Trustees. The posting on the village website of this nomination is simply to inform the public that a nomination has been received. And this nomination has the approval of the property owner, or without property owner approval, this nomination will not be discussed, reviewed, confirmed, something like that. Right, so that's what I'm saying, it's not that important.
So
So it's just-
why would you strike it?
Yeah,
I
strike
don't
it.
care.
Agreed.
Strike it and let that correspondence be handled like any other correspondence. Okay, I don't think it's a big deal.
I mean, if just to make it clear, it just was not the intention of this committee to undo anything that was done here in this work session. I know they're incredibly hardworking and know an awful lot about this, and they're just trying to do their job. So I appreciate the hard work they've put in.
Everybody appreciates the hard work they've put in.
Right, no one's
But I'm
saying
trying to do
otherwise.
my job, which is to say that this is not the way to handle this.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's not the way, but I think
I'll
it's an
just,
okay
and leave
way.
the other two things in there. Okay.
But just to clarify, because I heard you say something at the end there, if a nomination comes in, it is not included on the board's agenda as correspondence? Or where are we at on that? The inclusion of the nomination request? So if someone writes to the Board of Trustees and says, I hereby nominate so-and-so.
Well, I mean, I think, wouldn't it be the same argument? You don't, it's not,
Yeah, I don't think we publicize it until we find out if they're.
Exactly.
All right,
it's
so
only
just
for us.
wait, yeah.
So
It's
it's
not
not
on-
considered
it's not on the
correspondence.
Not
agenda
considered
because we
correspondence.
can't consider it if the
You put
person
that-
doesn't say
yeah,
yes.
You want to put that into some kind of
Yeah, I-
administrative, it's probably administrative, it's gonna happen.
I would not put it in the law.
No,
No, and I'm not even sure.
Policy, but
No,
I don't
just-
think it matters.
Just wait, and then you'll get an answer, and then put it as correspondence.
Yes, if the
And then-
person agrees, then it's definitely correspondence.
Right.
Then we
All
go.
right, fine.
Well, you'll have a hearing and all that, so yeah.
Okay, but just to throw it out there though. It is a matter of public interest though, isn't it?
Well, that's
You
what I
know,
said,
I mean,
as
that's
far as
a-
transparency.
Yes, but I think what we want to try to avoid is, kind of getting the, pitchforks and torches if, I nominate Connie's house and she's like, nah, I'm not really interested in that.
Okay.
And then it's like, well, you know what, we already have it on the website and we announced public record and now what happened? What did Connie do with that? I saw the request and she said no, like,
We're having
what
a rally on
what a
Saturday.
bad guy. What a bad woman she is.
I mean, as I said, this is like, if this happens once in the next, 5 years, I would be surprised. But if somebody said, I'm nominating Connie's house to Irvington, and they put it on a Facebook page, but they never actually do. They never actually send it in to our board. Somebody said, no, you didn't. Well, it's not in our communication. It's not an official thing. But if it is, then it is an official thing. So it could be, but the negative that you're thinking could happen, somebody could just do that anyway
Right.
and make some
But we would.
Yeah, but you're not part of it.
Yeah.
Right, so we wouldn't be part of it. I'm just saying, this makes it clear, if you have transparent I suppose it's foilable. If you want to foil
Sure.
something, a communication comes in.
Oh, yeah, it's a
We
public,
have foil.
absolutely,
So
public.
somebody can
it's a
find
public
out that there
document.
was a nomination that wasn't approved, though I don't think that's ever gonna happen. So, again,
Point is moot.
Okay.
Right. I
Uh,
got it.
And then, isn't that time to call for public hearing on Monday?
Yes, so that, with
I'll
those
make those
two
changes.
changes, then,
I'll send it tomorrow.
Village administrator report?
yeah, so this, I'm sorry to be cryptic about it, but there's a couple of, I think, relatively minor things that have been on my plate that I just thought I'd bring up and get some guidance here, yeah, so. So, a while back, you had a presentation by a company called,
You have no dinner? Sorry.
no, the answer was. We had a presentation from a company called Mobility that wanted to look at these mini cell site or node or whatever they're called. And so I have not taken the next step with that company. It was suggested to me by our consultant that there may be some fees that are incurred in terms of coming up with this agreement, at least initially, not dealing with the actual installation itself, which will have to be in front of the
Can you
planning board.
remind me what the mobility thing was?
It was, the location happened to be Hudson Road West?
Yeah,
Hudson Road West.
on the edge.
Next to, near Mercy College, and it was basically a telephone pole mounted
Good thing, the
box or whatever, that was like a mini
mini cell tower.
cell tower, mini
It was
node.
a booster or whatever.
Right, and so but there's,
Traffic Mercy College.
right. So there potentially could be other locations that would be identified, not that we're committed to doing that, but that they would have to go in front of the planning board in terms of the location and the requirements there. But there should be some sort of a master agreement that covers these types of installations, so that it's similar to your cell tower agreements that you have up on Mountain Road, that you're all intimately familiar with. So the process of figuring out an agreement, whether it's through the village attorney time and also our communications consultant time, is something that we should have an escrow account established for. I'm bringing it up simply to get confirmation before I go in that direction. It doesn't look like we need to have a resolution after talking with Mary Ann about it, but that imposition of an escrow account, an establishment of an escrow account, can happen from a village official like me. But I just wanted to confirm that you still have interest in their request, and that establishing an escrow account, probably on the order of $2,500 to $3,000, would be something that would make sense to you.
Now, do they supply their own pole, or do they go up on?
I think it was existing,
So,
so they'd have to show permission, you know.
right, so what are we, I'm trying to think, it's different than a cell tower, so what kinds of agreements would we have with them?
I think the fact that they're in our right-of-way, granted up on a pole, but it's within a village right-of-way.
So they don't, somehow the right-of-way isn't, did Verizon have to come to us when they were putting their Fios boxes up?
They have a right-of-way agreement, but they don't have the right to sublease it and sublet it to anyone they choose,
Okay.
so, at least that's the
Do
way.
you know whose pole they were putting on now?
I don't remember, I think it was Con Edison.
Well, then they also have to get permission from Con Ed.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think setting up this escrow account makes,
And working out all these types of details to make sure that we're
especially
covered
for
in
the first one.
Yeah,
Figure
exactly.
out how much it's gonna
So
cost.
they've been back in touch with you, wondering?
Yeah, well,
Oh.
they heard from the board that night that you
Thought it was-
sat and thought it was a positive thing, and, you know.
Important.
I need one in my neighborhood.
Well, that's
You'll
one of
be-
the questions, I mean, beyond setting up this escrow account is, will this multiply, build up in place, and what kind of control would we have?
I think that's
what we need.
the agreement, yeah, exactly. That's part of what we would look to our communications consultant, you know, to see what the industry, how the industry handles this, or how this is handled with the industry. That's part, I don't know the answer to that.
Makes sense to me.
It's a lot cheaper than a cell tower.
So that's it, no, it's not,
Okay.
I have my guidance, thank you. The other thing is, just as a quick point, we're going to put a resolution on the December 18th agenda, which will establish just very simple regulations related to bulk waste and the imposition of the new fee, starting at the beginning of the year. And I'm outlining it, which is basically, the recommendation is a $25 fee, which is $25 per pickup. And it only applies to bulk waste and not bulk recycling. So something that's metal, that's recyclable, whatever that is, there would be no fee for that. I think that's what.
Recyclable,
A
you
refrigerator.
mean
Yeah,
the kind of,
file cabinet, or, yeah.
or the kind of metal that they can take and actually get paid for? Is that what you mean by metal recycling?
Yes.
Versus a sofa, which has got zero
Right,
recycling
right,
content.
right, so,
I'm sorry, as opposed to what?
So-
Like a sofa or.
It doesn't have anything, it's just garbage that we have to dispose of.
a mattress,
But,
bed bugs.
I keep getting stuck on the lawn chair, I'm sorry, but there's some small item that won't fit into a can that's relatively not large, it's just,
Yeah,
and nor is it heavy. So we had said that they would have perhaps some discretion about that kind of thing.
Right. The way it worked, we actually had been kind of doing this system without imposing any fee, of course, but having the crew report back what it is that they were picking up. And the bottom line is, if it is something that is fairly minimal, and something that you could, even though it may not physically, you can't sit there and actually fold it up and put it into a can, but if you had superhuman strength and you could do that, it's not going to be charged for.
Okay.
So if
So
it's got
they
the
don't-
volume,
They don't need another
if got,
trip back to get it.
Right.
exactly, if it's got the overall volume of something
So
that would
if
fit in a
it can be
can,
handled in the regular
Yeah.
garbage run,
Then
Yes.
it's not a
then it doesn't require another trip.
I can
then it's
tell
not gonna
you-
get built. That
right.
makes perfect sense.
It's
And I can-
partly size and partly weight, right? If it's
Yes.
really heavy and it's next to your can, and
Yes.
they can't pick it up.
but we're really trying to refrain from putting out any sort of detailed lists, because every time we got into that, it became an impossible task. And I'm just from firsthand experience, is a kitchen table okay? Well, what about just a kitchen chair? Well, what if it's two chairs? Or what if it's, it just,
We need to have people with discretion.
What if it's a dining table, not a kitchen?
right, so.
That can't be-
What if it has upholstered seats?
But what I can tell you, though, is that in looking at the sheets that the men generated over that period of time, it was a few months they were doing this, there was nothing on the list, really, that I took issue with. I didn't see something on there that was, one lawn chair. The things that were picked up were clearly things that were billable and should be picked up as bulk, or should be billed as bulk. And the reality is, and I'm happy to say this at our public meeting here, the reality is, if there's a dispute over a lawn chair, we're not putting a lien on someone's house.
Right, this is not to make money.
Exactly. And that message, exactly that message, has been and will be conveyed to the men. This is not every little thing that you see. This is, there's a reasonable smell test here, you know what I mean? So I think it's going to work, and I'm not going to put that in the resolution. The resolution will simply state bulk waste as defined in whatever is billable at this rate per pickup, and bulk recycling as defined wherever is not.
And you still have electronics pickup too, which is.
Yes, that's
Different.
recyclable.
Which is recycled.
And small
Not all
appliances.
recyclable.
No, but it wouldn't be billable, so
Yeah.
it's still, yeah. Wouldn't
So
fall
anyways,
under-
you're not gonna have smell criteria in the resolution?
No. I mean, if you want to write it, go right ahead, or if you want to introduce it into the resolution, but no. Okay, so that's.
Part of the goal of this is for people to think, maybe I could sell this in an antique store, or maybe I could not just make it garbage. Isn't part of this a sustainable, less waste effort? Is that?
Yes, and it's
Yeah,
actually,
the original time we talked about it, that's what I thought.
the options are actually, I was surprised to see that someone did put them up on the website. Maybe
Come
it was
and-
green policy.
Come and get,
right.
come
It
and
was
get
a-
things.
And
Right.
a whole
It's in
list
front
of
of my
things,
house, you could use
What
it.
you could do, and it listed things like free cycling and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Right,
So
right.
it was a good list of options. So probably it's important to point that out, that people get their ideas.
Okay. One other item relates to, and Mark, by the way, this is your item that we had an exchange on relating to posting of speed limit on Station Road.
Right.
If you are prepared to even have that conversation tonight, that's fine. Okay. So, Mark pointed out that, as you may know, we moved right in front of Larry's bedroom, Yes, exactly.
Everybody speaks up.
We moved,
I
we
was
moved the
still
speed,
trying to look in.
we moved the digital speed sign over to Station Road for a variety of reasons. It has to do with cell coverage and some other things that we were trying to experiment with, but it's on that road, thought it was a reasonable place to put it. At the same time that we posted the sign, we also posted the speed limit, which is a kind of a standard, way to install these signs. And we posted what the speed limit is for Station Road, which is 25 miles an hour. There was an effort, or at least a suggestion, that we try to declare Station Road as a school zone, and we're effectively unable to do that because of the distance from the school is from Station Road itself. We could do it on Maple Street and not Maple Street, Oak and Willow, which I think is kind of meaningless, but we really couldn't do it on Station Road.
15 is pretty good.
So the speed limit on Station Road is not 15 miles an hour or school zone. So Mark questioned whether, I think you felt the traffic committee and had suggested that it be posted as such for psychological reasons or
Well, because everywhere
mindsets.
else on the road, everything is posted as, there's only one other speed limit sign on that road right now.
As soon as you get out of the tunnel on the right. Anyway.
Well, whatever, but all up and down the road have the 15-mile-an-hour curvy road warning signs. So absent, if we were, psychologically speaking, if there was no specific confirmation of speed limit, psychologically people are going to be thinking, oh, maybe it's 15 because it doesn't show it anywhere else.
But are you allowed to have a digital readout without telling people what the speed limit that they're supposed to be going?
Well,
It's kind of strange.
it probably isn't recommended. I don't know about allowed, but it probably is not the right way to do it. But
Can we put it near a turn, like into a turn or out of a turn?
we may be. Here's the thing: if you put, my understanding of the way the speed limit signs work is that if it's a white speed limit sign, that's the actual speed limit for the road. If it's a yellow lower, that's a warning, which doesn't mean you can't issue a ticket, because if someone is determined, if the police department determines that they were driving too unsafe for conditions or whatever that, but that gets pretty touchy-feely. So maybe the solution is, rather than have the white 25 speed limit sign, we come up, maybe there's a design, and I'd have to ask for some help on this, to have a yellow caution 15-mile-an-hour sign posted underneath that. Maybe not necessarily curvy or whatever, but just if there may be some design that makes sense, doesn't necessarily say that it's a white 15-mile-an-hour school zone, which it isn't. And that's the part that I objected to. I didn't want to put something up that wasn't true, right?
Yeah, right. I
So now,
understood that too.
as we talk this through, maybe a yellow 15 will have the same effect, but won't be enforceable or posting something that's incorrect.
So we don't have to have that digital piece there. We were using it as an experiment. If it's counterproductive, maybe
Well, I don't think
just
the
don't
sign-
have it there.
I don't know that the digital sign is necessarily counterproductive. It's gathering some good data, and it's helpful feedback for
But if
people.
it has to have the 25 with it, then it
It should have a
kind of
speed
Mark's point. You're reminding people that it's 25, whereas they've been thinking, oh, it's curvy, it's 15.
Does it
So,
have to face in that direction? I'm only saying because
No.
more than one person on Station Road has thought it would be better facing the other direction. Because in that direction, it's coming right after the stop sign.
they could
Yeah, but
And it's straight going in.
But if you
More
flip
people
it,
are going fast after they come out of the tunnel and they're heading towards the train station.
so further east from there.
But by heading east, so even if it's in the same
Oh, it's
place,
not-
just facing east instead of facing west.
Yeah, I think
But I don't know if there's a sun.
I think all the
issue or-
poles are on the south side. of
On the
road.
south side.
Right where the sidewalk's gonna go.
So,
It
people
just
had
needs to be on a
commented that to
curve.
me. I
And
said,
buy
I
it
don't
what you
know.
want, it's there.
Yeah, I don't think I can put it on the north side of the roadway itself. But I can
Mhm.
put it on the south side, but further east from there, where people, okay, that's fair.
But this is not gonna stay there forever.
No.
No, this is just
They-
a gap.
they
Right now, it's on the south side of the road,
Right.
On the west side
Facing-
of the tunnel,
on the west side of the tunnel, facing eastbound traffic.
yes.
I think Larry's suggesting that
It's west.
the actual location where it's at is pretty close to where the new culvert is, like right there.
Yeah.
So the suggestion is move it further east on Station Road, down the road a little bit more, closer to the tunnel.
For what purpose?
Well, because people have just made a full stop. If, hopefully they've made a full
They're gonna
stop.
have to make a full stop within 20 feet at the, it just seems wasted right in front of the tunnel any closer.
No, not right in front. I don't think the suggestion was right in front, but a little further down. Maybe the midpoint of where we are and where the tunnel
Maybe the
is.
sign should be right off of South Buckout when you turn on the Station Road if you're really trying to get.
No, people do, that's a speed up play,
Yeah.
speed up
If you're
location,
trying
when
to
they
get
first
some-
make the turn heading up Station Road.
Right.
So
Because
farther
there
west.
is
And
a
then-
little bit up hills.
And at that point, we could couple it with a curvy 15-mile-an-hour sign.
All right, but there's a solution.
There's no.
But again, it is a temporary location, I mean, it's not a.
Yeah, I think it's gonna move around. That's what the intention of these things are.
But I think it's worthwhile having them there for a somewhat extended period of
Yeah.
time for behavior.
Right, right.
That's.
And we're not obliged to post the actual speed limit anywhere?
No, because the village has a village-wide speed limit of 25.
Okay,
right?
and that's,
Is what-
okay.
It's posted on both ends of Broadway.
And it's the state that makes the rule about, the school 15.
It's a state- that's a state law,
And
yeah.
the amount of.
The minimum
right, and the
speed
fee
is
and all
Just
that.
distance from a public road.
We don't have any-
Yeah,
Wiggle room to change what the state
no, we
requires.
no, we looked at that, there was no, so
Right.
that, in that case, we only did the school zone on Dow's Lane and not
Right.
Station Road.
And on
Really.
Main Street.
Well, that's
Well,
why
and Main
those were
Street.
traded off, having school buses.
Right,
We don't want to have school buses on Station Road. So
true,
if we had to trade something, we'd take 25 miles an hour.
yeah.
And no school
No school
buses.
buses, yeah. Yep.
15 miles an hour.
So when, you couple with this, and this is what I'm to say, maybe we could take a look at the other, wherever any other 25-mile-an-hour signs are on Station Road and just see if they're counterproductive. The one that I know of is, there's a, going east, there's a curvy road 15-mile-an-hour sign, and there's a stop sign at, like about a half a block later at Woodbine. And then right on the southeast corner of Woodbine is an old, like, stuck in the corner through a shrub, through a hedge, 25-mile-an-hour sign that's been there for like, 40 years.
Storage sign.
So it's, that one
I
to me, I
nominate.
mentioned that to you before, that one to me doesn't make any sense at all, because
Look at it.
it's really, again, if we're trying to psychologically slow down, we shouldn't give them an out.
Okay.
Plus, it's in a weird location.
Yeah, no, it sounds correct.
I'll pull it out and put it in my basement.
Yeah, exactly.
So the stop signs are regulated over there.
Nostalgia.
Do you have some street signs?
We have two of those signs now, and so
Yeah.
we're moving two of them around.
Well, no, we're really only moving one. The other is the one right out here on Main
Oh,
Street, which I think we view
right.
as more permanent, yeah.
And there's some, maybe this has been reported or it's in one of our reports about the effectiveness of them. They've been,
The data really hasn't, it only recently started being accessible and capturing correctly. We had some repairs that had to be done, so I haven't even gone back to evaluate it. The plan is not just for me to evaluate it, or the police department, but also the traffic committee can have access to the data as well.
Which they do have now.
They do? Oh, Karen took care of it, okay.
Oh,
I
I
don't,
thought they did.
yeah, I'm not sure. I know the one on Main Street has been fine, but the other one we've had trouble with, until we found the right location.
I got
It wasn't accessible.
it's a cell tower.
Yeah. Okay, so the last item on my list is, I left you a copy of a resolution on
Peddler's permit.
a peddler's permit request. And normally we wouldn't deal with this at a work session, but I'll do minutes based on this. But the request just came in, and it's for this Sunday,
Okay.
for the Shabbat of the River Towns. So from our standpoint, everything seems in order. So
Can we get
Did
some
they,
copies?
did they have one of these, did they do this last year or was it 2 years ago?
not
Did
that,
they-
I don't know about the truck. I don't.
They didn't have a truck, or they did?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
I vaguely remember having a peddler's permit once before, but
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
17%,
Yeah.
so it's not.
Yeah.
Resolved to approve the issuance of an enhanced peddler's permit to Hawaii, the Rivertowns to operate a mobile food business on Main Street during the Hanukkah celebration. The permit is valid for December 17, 2017, for a permit fee of $100 pursuant to Chapter 115 of the Village Code. I'll make a motion. Can I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye.
Now, I throw one thing in, I know it's not on the agenda, this is short. I got an email from someone who was talking about, they had been talking to some folks from Scarsdale. And Scarsdale, in recognition of what's going to be happening with probably the loss of deductions coming up. Yes, for state and local taxes. Scarsdale's actually coming up with a plan to allow people to, or have a plan to allow people to prepay next year's taxes now, so they can take it off on their
Actually, I got it.
I have an answer.
Yes.
You want me to short circuit this?
Yes.
I'll email it around.
Answer is it's not legal, or that's?
Well, no, well,
Everybody's saying to do it.
but yeah, I know, yeah, so.
IRS.
Certainly paying your
The IRS
December
said they don't think it's
thing.
acceptable. You can't prepay taxes.
Yes.
Well,
But anyway,
All right.
okay, that's the answer.
Right,
Well, no, because we've been faced with the question as well. I can't say we've had, marches on Village Hall or anything, but we've had a few questions, and we did look to NICOM to answer those questions for us. And, right, so I don't know whether all of you I have no idea who they sent this to, but NICOM did send out some guidance, even though we had called separately to speak with one of the attorneys up
Maybe
there.
we're downstate Long Island, right?
Yeah, exactly. And basically, the short answer is this. Back in 1985, the state controller, at the time when the federal government was considering tax reform for it turned into the 86 tax reform bill, there was a consideration to eliminate state and local tax deduction. The state controller at the time opined that the taxes, the authority to collect taxes begins when the warrant is delivered to the tax collector. And that's it. So there's no authority for someone to pay for taxes that have not yet been levied. Now, that's different than, someone saying, oh, well, my September tax bill and my January tax bill, I'd like to pay my January school taxes in December. That's different.
Yeah,
Those
right.
taxes have been levied.
Yeah.
But the warrant for the village taxes, which is all I care about, is not delivered until the middle to end of May every year. You don't even have a tax rate yet, as you know.
Yeah.
So that's and so the NICOM circulated the 1985 letter. They reiterated that they believe it's still germane and still is applicable. They made that's not even dealing and making no opinion on the topic of whether any such payment would be deductible by the IRS. That's obviously up to them. I can tell you that they would catch this very easily.
Yeah.
It's just a statistical thing. You know what I mean? If you paid $20,000 in taxes this year, and all of a sudden, or last year, and this year you paid $40,000, and next year you paid $2,000, it's not too hard.
I asked this, when people started asking,
Yeah, we got
our
a-
counselor, we had a second one,
Yeah.
third part of this, but my taxes are done by PricewaterhouseCoopers, so they're pretty plugged in. That's a big firm, and they went immediately to their IRS people, and they said, it's a gray area, and we think that we would not allow you to take them in advance.
Yeah.
It's not, they haven't come down officially yet, but they thought that it was probably not something. The more creative
Right, this is the one we heard
suggestion
of.
that Connie and I got today, and it's something we could probably ask NICOM, was, as I know well, the Village of Irvington is technically a not-for-profit, so if I want to throw a concert and I want to donate the funds, I can get a write-off on that, or you host a Little League team for the rec department or whatever, as long as you don't get anything in return. So someone said, well, could I, instead of paying my taxes, just have it as a, charitable deduction? My original pass on that was probably not,
Right.
but it's pretty creative. But again, I don't know how you could say, well, I already paid the bill, I made a donation to the village, so they're just gonna let our taxes go. It's not,
But
the accounting doesn't work.
yeah, I was going to say that
it went in this account, and then you applied it over here.
Well, no, but here's,
Where's your answer?
well, no, but here's the thing. First of all, a donation to the village, in order for it to be deductible, has to be used for a municipal purpose. Taking it and applying it to an individual's account,
You're getting a huge, you're getting a benefit
not
for
a
it anyway.
municipal
Oh, then you're
And
getting
you
a
also,
benefit.
you're also getting a benefit you
The
couldn't deduct it
roads
anyway.
in your,
Yeah.
in your,
right?
file.
Now, if we took it and, reduced the tax rate by a fraction of a cent somehow, that's the only way it could be, but then that applies it to everyone. You know what I mean? That's not what they were looking
To
for.
me, it doesn't, and again, if I go to if I buy a table of 10 at a charity event and the dinners were, and I paid 10,000 and the dinners were 5, I can only deduct 5. So if my taxes are 45 and I write you a check for 45 as my donation, well, now you've offset something for 45,000, my deduction's again 0. You know what I mean? And
Right, 'cause you get,
most
you
basic
get
tax
roads
accounting.
and you get
Well, not
police
even that, it
officers and you get.
I don't have to pay $45,000.
Oh,
So
right.
that's a direct thing, forget what I'm getting my value. I owe this, but I'm gonna give you a donation for this, so now I owe nothing. Okay, well, that donation just
You
offset
got the
that, so
benefit.
it's not a deduction.
But you can move up your charitable deductions, independently of paying taxes.
It's completely
Yeah,
independent.
you could just make some,
But you can set
to
up
the
a
recreation
a
department.
donor advised fund and fund it this year.
Sure.
If you
Then
prepay.
Oh, sure, yeah.
For things you're gonna donate to next year or the
Yeah,
other,
absolutely.
which I just did.
You can prepay mortgage principal, but not interest, right? So,
Right.
so nothing's deductible effectively from that.
No, it
Right.
just goes right to the principal. Well, after the interest is paid,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
we don't know
it
for sure
looks-
what's gonna pass anyway.
We don't.
but-
Well, we pretty much know
Oh,
for sure
it's
that.
gonna, yeah.
they're
Yeah,
gonna
unless
limit it
Susan
to
Collins,
$10,000
two or three people
anyway.
say-
She
I-
melted the first time, I mean, she's,
I know, but
she's no.
I forwarded you
Yeah.
the NICOM, I guess you must have gotten it, right, you said? Okay, so maybe they just sent it to mayors and administrators, I don't know. Anyway, I sent it to all of
And
these.
not to us poor taxpayers.
And actually, I just got an interesting email about, I guess, Crown Castle has sued Rye, Crown Castle cell phone people, and the judge found in favor of Rye, so I'll forward you guys that too.
Oh, no.
Yes, please, because that's something I've heard a little bit about.
On what?
I didn't even read it all, I just remember seeing it
Was
today.
it about something going?
It was about their
It was
ability,
a dispute.
it was about their ability to review things, I think, in some
Oh.
ways. So, I'll find it, I'll send it to you guys.
All right.
Adjourn to executive session,
Yeah,
regarding personnel matter, or do you have something else?
no, that's,
I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session regarding personnel matter, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.